We're live right now. We're just shooting the crap. Have some stuff on the whiteboard in the back. Let a few folks get on. So, guys, welcome. BitsBeTrippin, BBT Carter. Welcome for everybody new that finds this video, that has never found this video. Typically, I'm covering things related to cryptocurrency across the board. It could be GPU mining, ASIC mining, especially ASIC mining lately, as I'm getting a larger ASIC mining setup going, but a lot of other things that affect all of us in the proof of work space. That's what I like to cover. I am joined by SerpentX here, also has a YouTube channel. I'll let him shout out his channel.
SerpentX Tech. You guys should know it. Oh.
Yeah. We're good.
I was going to retweet that. Anyway, SerpentX Tech. You guys may have heard of it, but just basically cover everything in a tech space, teardowns, really looking into performance data and information, similar to my buddy Mike here. And just wanted to join and catch up with him. Actually, had a really great time and still having a great time. So
yeah, got in a few days ago. We've been kind of seeing the sites around our area. And most of you guys know I'm in that St. Louis area. BBT being a Midwest now, GPU and ASIC repair stuff too we're doing. And also Crypto World. You got to see Crypto World today.
Pretty cool place.
Rocking some Crypto World swag today that you can get there, or cryptoworld.com. But yeah, just kind of going around the space talking to folks. And one of the things we wanted to talk about today is the Ethereum development call. That was yesterday, because yesterday was Friday.
Yeah.
And it was, about a 2-hour call. And, what are the things that we want to pull out of that when it comes to like planning? If you're a miner in this space and you're mining Ethereum, it's very relevant. That discussion is very relevant to you. And where the dev team feels confident when they can start to put a date on the actual merge. And most of the videos I've been covering have been just trying to decipher what the information they're talking about is. Like if they're talking about doing any kind of testing, deployment to a test net, what is that translated? What's that mean from an expected time of delivery of when I think being responsible for a lot of development in my life, like what's that really going to look like from a timing standpoint? Right. And then try to see if I can, just give us an estimation based on that. There's a few key trigger points. And we were talking about this earlier about, there's been a couple good successful shadow forks, which is the ability for them to test kind of their new execution strategy on, making the merge happen. And then how are they handling the client, the different clients on Ethereum to be able to handle the merge and go through the issues. Bottom line, I'll just get straight to it from what was on that call. There isn't enough information to set a date, first off. I think that they have to go through a couple more shadow forks. They've fixed a few issues on the network. What's this mean from a miner standpoint? You can continue to mine Ethereum. Like nothing's changed on that. One of the things I will bring up, and I'll let you jump in, Chris, when we start to talk the space in general, how does this affect us? Is one thing I want to bring up is the difficult bomb. They did not delay it, so it's not moving, which just means it's going to slow the network down. Which means from a yield standpoint, if you're mining, you're going to see a little less and less yield because it takes longer for a block to come out. I'll let you jump in real quick and see if you have any other.
Well, I mean, looking at the difficulty, we saw that yesterday, and there was not a significant delay in the block times. And I can't say anything definitively, but just looking at the information and what they talked about, as Mike mentioned, is basically there's no set in stone. I know a lot of people want to just have a set date for when this is going to happen, but you just basically, like I mentioned on Twitter, is just keep your eyes out, right? Miners continue to mine. keep an eye on the situation as a whole. Like there's various people in Twitter, right, that you can monitor, keep an eye on their feeds and keep an eye on what's going on. But over the next 2 weeks, we need to see what's going on between now and the next dev call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of the questions, Gandalf Gray there says, nice name, my dude. BitsBeTrippin, why do you think there was so vague on the difficult bomb delay? Well, so I think it's they don't want to have multiple hard forks. And so to delay the difficult bomb means they have to align a strategy for everybody to have all their nodes updated and be able to consume this new feature, this new update. That update would be the difficult bomb moving. So if all they're going to do is move the difficult bomb, they would be like, let's try to take advantage of that time to at least put some stuff in. Because think of it like a software release. So they're like, they just don't want to have that coordination of all that event. Everybody upload all their nodes just to push the difficult bomb. I would say, and I saw looking at the Twitter sphere here, we were kind of looking through Christina Kim's, space here earlier of just like her output of what she, took from that. The dev meeting was, could they just remove it? Could they just remove the difficult bomb? They have essentially a method and a way to fork and not have that poison pill in place anyways. Like people would be just mining a chain that's not being, any more used or monitored by any of the exchanges and stuff. When the merge happens, all of the nodes are going to be looking at Beacon. And then, so like if people keep mining, it's like, well, who's going to support that chain that they're mining? So they're looking at it from a poison pill standpoint where the difficult bomb probably doesn't need to be there anymore. So they just keep kicking that can down the road. So there is maybe an opportunity that if they have to move it again, they just take the difficulty bomb out. And maybe that's what they're going to talk about for the next 2 weeks, right? Is just saying, if we have to move it because they're not ready to go to the merge, then just remove it versus, kicking it down the road. Yeah. For the viewers that aren't aware, I always like to, anytime we cover this subject, I like to explain like what it is, what the difficult bomb is. The entire point of the difficult bomb was to create like a poison pill or a disincentive for miners to continue to mine the Ethereum network when they were to move over to proof of stake. So it disjoins miner difficulty to the relevant hash rate of how fast it's solving a block. It artificially goes up, and it goes up at an exponential rate to where it just it takes miners longer to find the nonce to be able to mint a new block. So it starts at, right now it's about 13.8 seconds. It'll start moving its way up. After a couple weeks, it'll go probably about a second and a half every couple weeks, which just means the entire network slows down. And this just doesn't affect miners. It affects all the different apps and tools. Right. And then it's like having a delay. It's like you're going to a website and it's just running really slow. And if that website's dependent on other information to get there and then it times out, then maybe that information won't be displayed anymore. So that's the effect, is if you let the difficult bomb go up too much, then it slows the entire network down and all kinds of other things break. Right. So they have to move it if they're not ready to get rid of it or move the network over. So what I would tell people is the next 2 weeks, I think, is going to be they're going to do the shadow forks, make sure they fix those issues with the client side issues. And if you look at Tim Binko's, if you're not following Tim, give him a follow on Twitter here. So Tim, if I hit back here, this thread, and we can move over that one. It's trying to go forward on that. There you go. It's like just a big, here we go. I Googled it for you. So Tim Binko, I'm giving him a shout out. He doesn't even follow me, but I'm doing him a solid. He's got 65,000 followers. He does a recap for everybody on the dev calls, which kind of just tries to annotate an outline of what happened. So for the people that are not going to sit there and watch 2 hours of a very boring dev call, right? No shots at anybody. Most dev calls are boring. It's just a whole bunch of people telling kind of where they're at in the status thing. But Tim comes through here and explains, what's going on here, right? So he went through a kind of an entire outline of what they covered. And in that, what I would say is follow him to watch kind of what's coming up. If you're a miner, it's relevant. This is like relevant information. This is part of your impact to any of your potential profitability when it comes to the rig. And you know that, hey, are you need to move to another network here relatively soon? Now, obviously, we'll be covering that in different channels and stuff, but you want a real bomb, lower the DAG. Well, that would just increase that would increase the amount of GPUs that could come on, because then you can have a bunch of 3 giggers come back. Well, I tell you what, let's take somebody. I know that you guys are going to have lots of questions. I think that's the quick and dirty overview. We're waiting a couple weeks for the next dev call.
Gotta wait
to find out. Let's take some questions. I always want to have a quick one with you guys, and with Serpent here, we wanted to make sure that we were doing a video. We were, together in a live stream, and then just kind of cover a relevant topic. Let's see here. Is it likely some miners will quit before the merge? What would affect rewards? Do you want to go ahead and try to take Trader Joe's question there from your perspective? Would miners start to quit before the merge?
Me personally, and it's just my opinion, I'm already starting to see miners kind of migrate to other chains, whether it's Ravencoin, Ethereum Classic, Ergo, whatever it may be. As things continue, we can see a number of miners drop off. Would that, that depends on how it's going to impact the network, hash rate difficulty, and obviously with what's going on to the bomb. But it's going to continue to happen. Miners are going to continue to shift their focus, and as the merge continues, we're going to have more and more people swapping over.
Yeah, I'll take a shot at it. So why would miners quit before the merge? So a miner would quit right now if they don't change the difficult bomb. It's gonna squeeze. It's like a short squeeze almost, where it's going to squeeze people's profitability down to such a point that if you're at a higher kilowatt per hour, you're going to make a lot less, and it's going to not look like you're getting much yield at all, because you're getting less coins over a period of time. So it's going to reduce that. So that might move people before the merge. If they fix the difficulty bomb, but it's right before the merge, people may just sell the rigs, and you might see a start of a hash rate drop because people are just not going to go to some other coin. But again, it all comes back down to the ability to participate in mining. And there's a lot of other tokens out there that have opportunity in development. There's also some people that don't fully agree with what's going on with Ethereum and are shifting. And the easiest shift is to ETC. This is the same environment as Ethereum, and they are holding proof of work. So if you look at the ETH1 protocol development team, the least line of resistance is what you know, right? So if you're an ETH1 developer, and you don't really feel like you have a place in ETH2 yet, or you haven't moved on, and you're like, I feel comfortable in my space, you're probably moving to ETC, right? You're going to start working with ETC because that's a layer 1 protocol that's still holding proof of work, and you can still work on those clients as the clients have shifted, right? There's Nimbus, there's, I don't know them all off the top of my head yet on the ETH2 side, but there's a list of clients running on ETH2, and then there's the clients that are in ETH1 like Geth. And it's kind of a handoff over to ETH2. Now, some of those developers may come over to ETH2 and help work on some of those protocol teams, but some of them will probably move over to ETC. So does that give enough confidence that there's a development bump up in ETC to then also build confidence in Ethereum Classic, and it drives price up a little bit? Because remember, all those smart contracts can still be deployed on Ethereum Classic. Some of them are. There is swapping on there. So Ethereum Classic has probably the strongest advantage. And then you have other platforms. You have Flux, you have Ergo, you have Ravencoin that all have vibrant development communities building infrastructure and architecture on their particular coins that are going to stay proof of work, right? So you have somewhere to take those GPUs to. It all comes back down to price discovery, and that's what we're all looking at. I did a conversion of like what would the rate of the token have to be to absorb all of that ETH hash rate. Now that was around ETH at about 600 terahash. It's now almost 45% more than that. So you're looking probably $1 to $2, or about $1.30 or so. Ravencoin price, which is quite a bit. It's 5 cents right now, 4 cents. So you'd have to have a huge growth there. Ethereum Classic would have to be around that $500 mark to be able to take quite a bit, but still profitabilities would be way low for a while. So we'll see. I mean, I think it's I've been here before, being one of the old dogs on the corner, where, you know, things moved from Bitcoin to Litecoin, then Litecoin over to, at the time it was Doge was the most popular for a little bit, to Dash and a handful of other tokens. And then it went to ETH, and now we're going to go to the next thing from a proof of work mining side, on, you know, consumer grade hardware, which is GPUs. So
It's not your first rodeo.
it's not, it's like the fourth time. So, and I think there's enough passion in this industry. Like anybody I talk to out in, you know, any kind of conferences, and I think people underestimate the grassroots, you know, involvement. People love GPU mining.
Right.
Like, yeah, there's a lot of haters on the gaming side, and I get it. But people just like building things, and they like to have control, and it's that ability to participate. You can go out, get a graphics card, watch a video, participate, get a token, and use that for that ecosystem. If it's an NFT, if it's DeFi, those types of things. Well, let's see here. Do we have a new estimation for the merge? If I was to choose the time, I think right now, from what I'm seeing, there's a lot of momentum. That if they don't have, I think it's more than just a few test cases passing and they're like good for the first round. Personally, I don't see it happen until first quarter at a minimum of next year. I just don't see, because they're still having like show-stopping issues. Like, they're not going to YOLO. They're not going to YOLO. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to say, we passed some tests. They're very rigid from a unit test and their test suites that they're using. They've done a couple of good shadow forks, and they're like, let's just take a $300 billion networking YOLO. That's not going to happen. And it should not happen. And it shouldn't be a developer's decision to make that happen. It's going to be the billions of dollars that people have invested in here to make sure that this thing's rock solid and good. I don't see it until at least first quarter of next year. Personally, that's my opinion. I am not part of the development team. It's just my hat. I put my engineering and architecture hat on of understanding what their tests, their public tests that they've done, and the gaps between where they're at right now. They still haven't answered any of the stuff related to the Cornell papers that came out about the security vulnerabilities in it. Right. It hasn't been talked about. Those things have to be fixed. That can elevate and change the amount of issuance on Beacon. That has to be answered. Like, you can't just YOLO your network into it. So like, those things have to be answered, and maybe they've been fixed. I don't know if there's 268 people watching right now. If those have been answered, shout me out, at me on Twitter and say, bro, it's been fixed for 2 weeks. I'm happy to be updated. But I don't see it for at least until that first quarter. I think if they rush it in October, so their natural thing would be plus 3 months from maybe the 2 weeks from now. So if, let's say, they get through 2 shadow forks and they're good, they're going to be, let's say they have enough confidence, which I don't think they will, to say, we're going to pick a date. Well, what's that date going to be? Well, that date's probably going to be October, because they're going to put it out. They're not going to put it in August. They're not going to put it in June. This is an EIP 1559. It's the fork of the network. Mm-hmm. So if they go in October, then they're going to have 3 months of a lot of more rigorous testing, because now there's a date and a sand, right? Like this is the date. Everybody that's involved in this is now going to be a little more animated to test their stuff. And it's a fact that they're just okay on the protocol side, that they're okay, but now all the other smart contracts that are out there and everybody else that has DeFi locked up and all these different bridges and things that could have existential issues when you talk about assetation, like, they start really hitting it hard or testing on those test nets, and then they find bugs. It's just slipping it. It's a constant slip. Mm-hmm. So I genuinely, I think they got to get through those fixes next. And then maybe in October, they're like, okay, first quarter next year, because nobody usually releases in December.
All right. And I mean, so my original prediction, as far as, and again, this is my own separate opinion from Mike here. Basically, I was looking at October, September from the last dev call. But seeing that the progress that's made in the most recent dev call, I'm kind of like Q4, Q1. So Q4 2022 or Q1 of 2023 is my expectation. However, as the key points mentioned before. That can obviously change on the fly, but this is forgive my analogy. He's better at analogies than I am. It's like a super tanker, right? You can't just stop a super tanker real quick. This is an ecosystem that has a lot on it, a lot riding on it. These aren't small issues either. So, it's going to take a minute for them to turn the ship and get it in the direction that they want.
Yeah. And I think what you're hearing from this, from a miner side, mind you, we're both mining Ethereum, is not taking shots at them. I've been supportive and trying to understand Ethereum since the beginning. And understand the weight that's on their shoulders that they put on themselves to try to get this done.
It's not an easy task.
It's not an easy task. It's a monumental thing, and it would be much easier if ETH wasn't $300 billion. I know everybody loves the price, but if ETH was still $30, this would have been a lot easier. In August of 2017, this would have been a lot easier, just because they could YOLO a little in it, go with one client, hope that it worked, and then start all their building on the POS side. It's still, I think, subjective if this has all been a good decision or a right decision. I'm not 100% convinced on proof of stake. I think there's a huge amount of risk and a custodial risk, existential risk when you come into decentralization issues. The Lido portion of that network is like 89%. There's a lot of attack vector on ETH2 right now. And nobody wants to hear it. Everybody wants ETH2. They want the merge. The validators want the block rewards. I understand there's a lot of capital involved here, but it's at the expense of YOLOing a $300 billion network into a very centralized potential, to where if enough inertia got behind a bad decision, and when I say a bad decision is if government leadership comes in and says, you know what, proof of stake looks very centralized, shut it down, and the Lido and Infura and all these things that are reliant on AWS, and they pull a parlor on them and shut it down, you're going to knock out about half of all of Ethereum services overnight. Now, because now it doesn't have that decentralized consensus, it has a very super centralized consensus. Because most of that infrastructure and those nodes are setting in places that other people have that can shut it down. Now, can they withdraw their ETH? No, that's another impact.
Yep.
Can they restart up their node somewhere? There's a disincentive to fire up a node that's been fired up, right? So if you have a clone of your node in proof of stake, and you're like, you know what? No, I own my keys, like on F2, like the Rocket Pool, where you still hold your keys. That's a cool thing I like about Rocket Pool on the ETH2 side. However, you can't just go spin that node up and restore that same thing, because it's been it'll show that it's been duplication. That's a harder slashing issue. So I have concerns. Like, I have a lot of concerns. The incentive isn't a fair market participation distribution model. It's a very semi-centralized federated model. And not because they were trying to make it that way. I think it's just they're kind of a victim of circumstance, where enough people wanted to lean out that process because you could just fire it up easily on a cloud server, and made it so much leaner that now everybody just went to the clouds to go ahead and launch it, because that was the first market that you could go to. But now you've also taken it out of like miners' hands across the entire world, and you've now handed it over to this other thing. So all of that being said, like, ETH will have to figure that out and see if that was a bad decision or not, right? And we'll see. But good thing is we have ETC and some other opportunities. Nathan asked me, do I use carbon credits? No, we do not use carbon credits.
So crypto blockchain technologies, I pay attention to the Eth Dev Discord. I mean, I can't be in there as much as others, but I do try to keep up with it. That's also like popular tech tubers, right? And I'm going to back up here from the discussion. Popular tech tubers in the tech space, right? Paul's Hardware and stuff like that. Paul, I've advised him to keep an eye on Tim Biko, right? Because these tech tubers and information out there are saying, hey, there's a merge coming, GPUs are going to get cheap, and GPU pricing has gone down, but they're setting this expectation that the merge is going to happen soon. And this was earlier this year and even late last year when they were saying December. And that's setting a false expectation and kind of getting people's hopes up, which obviously the merge has been delayed from December of last year to where we are now. So following Tim Biko, even TechTubers, you just keep an eye on these guys, not just the Discord, but Tim and a few others in the space. And you can, as a miner, you should be aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I see some comments that people are saying they're serious about June. June's not happening. 100% guarantee you June is not happening. And the reason why that is, why I say that with absolute confidence, is you cannot arrange enough people to be ready within essentially a month. I mean, we're just about to enter May. Is it May yet? We're May 1st, right?
Yeah.
May 1st, right? So we're in May. It's not going to happen in a month. Nope. They're going to come back in 2 weeks and set a date. They're not going to say, hey, it's in 2 weeks from now. And let's say it's even at the end of June, it's 40 days. That's way, way, way too quick. But you got to understand that when it's ready to go, all of these other entities now have to get their stuff in order to make sure that their nodes are online, that they're good to go, that everybody completely understands. This is something that you coordinate over a 3-month period at the earliest, and make sure everybody has the test cycles. You don't know people's vacation schedules. You don't know the way companies are structured. And if they have, if went on a sabbatical, who knows, right? Things happen, and you got to give companies enough time to adjust. I'm not, what I mean by companies, I'm saying that there's development teams that operate, and it might be 2 dudes in a garage, right? But they still have to operate on a schedule to deploy a smart contract to make sure their stuff's tested and okay. On the client teams are by and large companies, their Prism Labs, all those folks, those are companies. They're actual companies, and they pay for developer employees. You can't just YOLO 15, days ahead of somebody. So it ain't happening in June. It needed to occur in, February, at the beginning of March, if June was a thing. And those shadow forks and everything had to be right. And again, I don't work for their thing. I'm just telling you a dose of reality from an architecture view of how things work with that. They can't go in June. They could attempt a shot in the beginning of October if they had good confidence in it. So let's say they get 2 weeks from now and there's a couple good shadow forks. They fixed all the potential issues. They feel super confident in it. Then they'll put a date out there, and it'll probably most likely be October. So then they'll bump the difficult bomb, because they won't let it go till October. It would be well over a minute plus block time if that was occurring. You would pretty much shut down ETH.
Right.
So they'll set a time for a bumping of the difficult bomb. They won't. I would almost guarantee you they will not let the difficulty bomb go past 17, 18 seconds, which in reality would be like 7 weeks from now.
Right now we're at 13.36,
which is perfect. That's still, it has kicked off, but it hasn't affected. And sometimes it won't affect it because as more hash rate maybe comes on and comes online, it's keeping pace with the difficult bomb. The difficult bomb it's a granular curve that then shoots straight up from a logarithmic level. So it hasn't pumped up enough essentially to cause any kind of delay in speed. But when we start looking at 14, 15 seconds, I think things start breaking around 17 seconds. It gets pretty painful for the end users. Things start timing out 17 seconds, 18 seconds. That's going to definitely to where they're going to have to make the change. So, I would assume that they're going to, if those in the next 2 weeks go well, they'll come out in 2 weeks and say, okay, we've had some good progress. We're going to put a date on it. But we got to move the difficult bomb.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
David.
Lucas, do you think they care about us? No. I think it's not nothing personal. I think that they have other things they're caring about. It isn't about developers. I think look at it this way. If somebody is having a meeting to make sure people are coordinated, I think they care enough about the community to make sure people know what's going on. We are one participant in a many functions around Ethereum. So you got developers, you got liquidity providers, you got like DeFi participants, lending, miners for the consensus. We're just a participant. You got node providers. By coordinating the schedule and all that kind of stuff, that's kind of their way of caring for everybody, right? So it's not personal of any particular person. there's probably obviously some vindictive people on there. I've been on some of those dev calls. I've literally been on those dev calls where people have called us out as like, the worst people on the planet. Ironically, if you look at the people that call out those and you look at their history, I mean, it kind of speaks for itself of their kind of personality. But and my personality and most of the other YouTubers out here have been pretty chill people trying to help more participants join the network. So, I mean, our history says what it is, and I mean, I would always just defer to that if who's going what. Have you talked about the delaying difficult bomb? Yes, we have tech talk review. You can hit the rewind button on that.
There's a question I would like to speak to real quick. Henry E., do you think the merge can actually affect ETH price? I think the merge is already affecting ETH price, right? The more the delay, and this is my personal opinion, may not reflect also with BBT, is the more the delay, the more they may actually have a negative impact on people wanting to enter or participate in their ecosystem / community. So they got to nail the merge. And the more the delay, I think it's having a negative impact. After the merge happens, I mean, Ethereum could pop off, but that's just speculation now, right?
Yeah, I think more than anything that affects the price is the amount of transaction cost. Still, I think that is one of the biggest impacts for Ethereum, because you have the potential of many getting involved versus the few that have a lot of ETH that are just going to YOLO in every ape drop or whatever, right? So you're getting minting huge amounts of ETH, being spent on minting of things as the few people that are doing that, versus having a potential of many people being able to mint and do things. I think affects it more than anything else. That's why I've always said that consensus was fine. They could have got and fixed some of the layer 2 stuff when it was sharding first, then had switched over to doing things with consensus and moving it over to the new ETH, or we don't call it ETH 2 now. They've convoluted it to some other kind of ethereal state that is not known to one. I mean, what you don't call it ETH 2 anymore. And the merge is just the merge, unless the merge now encompasses everything. I don't know. I am not up and full on ETH's new nomenclature of what the next thing is. But Beacon, when things move over to Beacon, but there's been this attack on the whole ESG and the mining and energy use is bad, which I think is still a bent argument. Energy use should never be an issue. Where it comes from, there's already roadmaps and plans for these power companies to move to something that's more clean energy. I think that's in everybody's best interest. I don't think anybody would ever have an issue with moving to something more renewable and clean. I think bottom line, everybody I think is for that. I don't think anybody, maybe some coal plants and folks that are affected directly by that might have a different opinion. However, I think everybody's for clean energy, and there are plans for those entities that are doing that. There are municipalities and governments that are pushing incentives to move to clean energy. So that's a pipeline that's working and running, and us being consumers of electricity feed a revenue source to speed that up and have a more consistent thing. So I would argue that the fact that we are mining are accelerating the shot to renewable than all of us stopping, and then they're just like, hey, we don't have enough money to move this pipeline, move this momentum to get to the new stuff yet. So I think the narrative's broken. I think that if you take it, you have to take all power usage in general and then scrutinize it. And I don't see anybody that's in the Ethereum teams not using their hair dryers, right? So, which by the way uses about as much as a 6-card and GPU mining rig when you're using it. So I think in general, it's a misguided conversation, which then now has emboldened this push for the merge to happen. And then there's the other part to the merge, which is stakers that have been promised that this was going to occur like within a year ago, and they have revenue that's being lost effectively potential revenue because they would have been the mentors of those blocks and they would have been earning those transaction fees. And now their return on investment is less than it could be because miners are still upholding the network. So I think you have those two kind of things where you got this narrative with ESG, which we all know is BS. And then you have this narrative on somebody who's promised something. Now that one I understand a little more because it kind of sucks. But I mean, I've been since 2017 telling everybody, hey, it's coming. ETH 2 is coming. Understand you can't mine ETH forever. But it all comes back down to difficulty in dollars and cents.
And someone asked Jay Lazar, let's see here, do you think the merge will kill GPU mining forever? I mean, that's been a hot topic, honestly, between a lot of the crypto content creators out there. GPU mining will not die.
GPU mining will never die. So the reason why is because GPU miners that are there that have investments, we were mining before things were profitable. So I'm going to give you from a perspective, when I started mining, very, very early in this space. We're talking 2011, right? I was mining and I was not making money, right? I was mining to uphold a network. And what will end up happening is you have a contraction. That's a fact. That's very tied to a dollar and cent situation. But you're still going to have people uphold networks. People are upholding Feathercoin still. People are upholding Neoscript. You have people upholding thousands of different coins with GPU mining rigs, right? Now, is there a huge proliferation across the entire world, around a whole bunch of miners that are participating? No, because a lot of that's driven based on those economies of scale. But you do have ETC, I think, will, with its changes, and yes, ETC has a jaded history with double spends, and they address that through the MESS, which is the exponential subjective scoring. It's multiple subjective scoring, which is a mechanism to help curb any kind of double spend on a difficulty standpoint. So they took an initiative to do that. Ravencoin's had the same thing. Flux and Ergo also have protections. So you're going to have an ecosystem of development still around those. Now, are those going to be the size of Ethereum? Still a question. That's a speculation, just like is Ethereum going to go to $10,000 like I see half the people talk about, right? We don't know. It comes down to usability. It comes down to access. It comes down to, are the fees going to be $1 million a transaction? Who knows? But there's too much attention and people that love this space of what it does and upholding, a network that I think doesn't make it go away. But can you participate? That's your own individual situation. Is your power a good deal? Do you have subsidized power because you're in an apartment that has power included and you can at least have one mining rig working that isn't really kind of jogging the power bill up? I mean, there's a lot of situations like that. I have a lot of, I don't know if you get very many, but people come up to me and say, hey, I'm in an apartment. I'm in, this area. I only have 15 amp on this one wall. So I can't have a big rig, but what could I put together? Because my power is included with my rent. So they're kind of already paying for the power already in the rent. If you're in that kind of situation where your power is being paid for, you can run a rig, right? Like you're already paying for it.
So a lot of students do that. Dorms,
So yes, GPU mining is not going to go anywhere. People are still going to do that, and they're going to develop around it. And actually, I mean, I see a lot of people join. They don't realize that I've been making videos on YouTube since 2013, teaching you guys how to mine. So I've been around for a long time, been through a few of these cycles, and I'm telling you, there's enough passion in this industry to keep a lot of these chains moving and going. And what ends up happening is you have a lot of smart people that are working on, they make a rig and they have maybe a day job with, a big company, and they're just like, they're a developer, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to participate and help write code for one of these networks because I want to better the network. I'm upholding the security for it. I'm getting a token for that effort. And now I'm going to write some code around that network. There's every one of these networks, Flux, Ergo, Ravencoin, ETC. If you're a developer, they'd be happy to have you, right? Contribute to the team, get some experience, that kind of thing. What else we got here? You guys still buying GPUs? I'm going to be buying one in a couple of weeks. I mean, so May 10th, the new, I think 6950 XTs come out. We were just at Micro Center today. Serpent hasn't seen a Micro Center before. He's in our area, so we went over to the St. Louis one.
They don't have them where I'm at. They don't have them.
Yeah, so we went over there and we were looking. We kind of scouting the area. So one thing I will say is, if you're not near a Micro Center or like even Best Buys, anywhere that takes returns, be on the lookout. So some of those cards that come back in those returns sometimes are non-LHR.
Yeah, full hash rate.
People have, maybe had them for a little bit, and maybe they bought the Micro Center deal where you can have it for 2 years, and they brought it back. Micro Center does a test on those, and then if they pass their test, they'll put them back in the box and they'll put them in the little cage for like a resell. And since they're the first gen, like 3080s, sometimes you'll have a 3080 non-LHR for like cheaper than the 3080 Ti's by quite a bit, like a $900 3080 non-LHR in there. So if you're looking for non-LHR cards, you might be able to find them in there.
Yeah, keep an eye out. I mean, so this GPU pricing is getting better right now from the secondhand market. It's not as profound of an impact. It's still an impact, right? It's still over MSRP. Cards are absolutely crazy as far as like when it launched and how much they are now, but they're getting better. I personally believe things will continue to get better over the next couple of months. We may see GPU prices fall more, even further. But yes, I will be continuing to buy GPUs. Matter of fact, I got some more coming, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, Red Panda dropping 100 Canadian. Serpent and BBT together. Here's some dirty fiat for dinner. Like a boss. I'll be returning that favor, my dude. That's very nice of you, my sir. So, we'll have to get some more margaritas. Maybe we'll hold off on the margaritas this round. We did have some fun. So it's been a few days out here. I've been having some fun with it. But yeah, if you guys aren't following us on Twitter, make sure you're hitting up on Twitter too, because we usually kind of shout out some of the stuff that we got going on. There's a ton of hardware back here that we have in the back that we're looking to bring to you guys too. The A2000, I got the A4500 back there, the A5000. We got an L7 I still haven't covered. I want to cover, break down, and tear down for that, and then just show some stuff when it comes to the ASIC side. Tons of good content coming your way, my dudes. It's good. It's good stuff. So let's take a few more questions, guys. We're at 41 minutes. I'd like to finish this up right at 1 hour, and then we'll have some stuff for you guys here. I know there's a Red Panda. You had a good Red Panda. If you guys aren't following Red Panda out there, get out there and follow Red Panda, son of a tech. Those guys are always on the grind. A lot of good content, very specific to the GPU mining seed. Red Panda just covered some a recap, having Tim Binko's kind of annotated outline of the dev call and covered it too. So make sure you're giving him a like and a follow too for that.
I mean, it's more opportunity for you to stack those sats. So I mean, keep an eye on the situation, keep an eye on what's going on, and continue to mine away, so to speak. And what?
Yeah, so we got a couple quick questions. What's an A2000? Can you tell me more about it? Will you buy more of them? So an A2000 is the Ampere NVIDIA cards. They're very small. Actually, you want to grab that one? We'll bring it in here. We got it right in the other room here. Serpent's going to run over real quick. They can still hear you too, my dude. Yeah, if you follow anything. Sir, when you post vlogs of BBT's place on your channel, you must see. Yes, Serpent's done a whole bunch of recording, so he's cleared hot to release some stuff. Yeah, there's an A2000. You guys can see the size of that. And that little guy does, modded version of that. You can do a hardware mod on to get about 49 mega hash. And then you got they're about 41, 42 mega hash right now. The meter I had going, I want to say they're really close to around 45, 50 watts. Card wise, I had a meter showing they were around 30 something, but I think what it was doing is it wasn't able to extract the actual, there was some margin of error there, and I think that margin of error is about 15 watts off the machine. I think full system on that's like 65 watts if you have it in a computer and the power supply and stuff. And then we have the A5000 back there too.
Yeah, that's pretty good card.
That's a big one too.
The A2000 to me is like, kind of like it's up there with the 6600s and the, the 3060 Which one's the most efficient card? So I like the 5600 XT, but then the 6600 XT took over.
The 6600 is really, really good.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is really good. This is probably one of the top tier, in my opinion, based on what I've tested. But you on the some of the other coins, you don't get kind of that upper reach and bound, like when you're talking flux and stuff. I'd say like the A4000 is probably the middle, the best of the middle there, but like you can't beat the 6600 sometimes if you get those down and some discounts. Yeah. I've seen those reach down to the $300 range.
All in on Ape. Yeah, Ape was doing pretty good earlier this week.
All in Ape. Haven't looked at it.
I said, what is it? The OpenSea board.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I thought it was another. Yeah. I saw some people get that. Make some post on that one. Do we really know SerpentX doesn't really just have big hands? Big hands.
I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about holding this up. Yeah, for the A2000.
Yeah, blower style cooler. These will get toasty unless you have them in a nice open air, depending on where you're. Like I live in Florida, all right? Mm-hmm. What ambient air temperature is for me may not be the same for you. And actually there's a video that I'll be dropping in the next couple of weeks about that, recommendations. And this is one of the biggest things that I love about the community is we share information with one another, hash rates, power draws, efficiency, whatever. But you can say Mike can throw on an overclock for this card. I have the exact same card, but I'm in Florida. There's environmental conditions. There's, thermal conditions, air ambient temperature, server case, whatever it may be. And obviously, I may not be able to run the same clocks he can, and he may not be able to run the same clocks that I can. So the whole point, to my understanding, is when we share this data, when Carter gets deep dive, showing you the meter and everything on the GPUs, you're comparing that to what I'm getting. Then you're comparing that to what others might provide, and then kind of seeing where that baseline is. I actually been talking to keeping in touch with the What to Mine guys and just feeding them data when new cards come out. And then they obviously do their own independent testing, which they should, and then provide that data online. But we'll be seeing what's coming out soon. 4000 series and
so there's the 4050, you got the 6950, 6850. So AMD's coming out with some new stuff. I have some more BC 160s coming in, so I want to do some more testing with those because we had deployed them up at the farm, and then. That's really the GPU standpoint. I don't think the 4000 series NVIDIAs are going to be within the power band for this kind of stuff. I think they're going to be pulling too much power. We killed my meter that was sent out by Rich. Poor Rich EP85 sent us a meter, and I nuked it. 660 watts on the 3090 Ti under full tilt, and it killed the meter. So we got a new meter coming in for that. We'll be testing. You can shunt mod this. I saw some statements on this, which can get a little more juice. So if you feed more juice to this, the actual memory that's in here, you can get this thing almost to 50 mega hash for this little guy here. And again, this doesn't even have a PCIe. This is just a 6-pen or anything. This has no ancillary power. It's purely riser powered. So it makes interesting builds with a set of cards like this. I have a 1050 Ti rigged in the back there that you saw, a Zotac, same way. We have 14 of those on a B250 mining expert board, and it's running on an 850 watt power supply. So it's 14 cards on an 850. So it gives you kind of an idea. Now, those are only 14 mega hash cards. They're not a ton, but the fact that we could get 14 of them on an 850 watt power supply, total power on that unit's about 680 watts. So it's just one of those things. Could you build it? And this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about where people ask, is mining going to go away? Everything I was just talking about had nothing to do with profitability. We were talking hardware. And we were talking about capability, and we were talking about having, all of us talking, we got 400 people in here, 421. I was like, whoa, 420, it's not that early. To have that discussion of what's in the realm of capability and possibility in these different algorithms. I think that kind of visceral experience with each other is part of what makes GP mining community one of the best communities out there. We all love the hardware aspect of it. Circumstantially, it mines tokens. Circumstantially, those tokens are worth money. It's the added incentive that's nice. But I think that first primal kind of attachment to this is trying things out and testing. I know I enjoy Like, I don't know. I've talked to a lot of different people about this. Like, people are like, you look at a new piece of hardware, what's the first thing you think of? The first thing I think of is not, does this make me a lot more money? I look at it like, I wonder what it does. That's my first question. And I wonder what network it runs on and what's more efficient. What's the output of it? Then the next question I go to is, okay, if I was to pick up a few of these, where does it make most sense to point it at? And now I start looking at incentive. But I think anybody that's tracking to the hardware side that you have a passion for, and sometimes people don't do it for that money. They just have dispendable income, and this is a hobby they want to do, and they'll have 1 or 2 rigs. I think that is the core that sticks with GPU mining on the long haul. And over a period of time, that is the core that's really benefited the most on the gain of any kind of token. Because again, remember, nobody owes us anything. The networks pay us. That's what we're owed. We give hardware, we give power to it, it gives us a token. That's the only thing, nothing more, nothing less. I don't need anything from anybody else on that. The rules of the road are there, my dudes. So, you don't have to ever apologize for anything on that. You don't have to ever feel bad about participating in mining. Like, it's part of the code, my dudes. Like, this is what we do. So, never feel bad about that, ever. I'm going to go single 4090 rigs are the future PM. We'll see.
We talked about how power hungry those cards are. After doing some testing with the 3090 Ti, I can't imagine what these 4000 series. And from my understanding, I'm not sure if they're going to all switch over to never mind. NVIDIA is going to switch over to the 12 pin.
Yeah.
12 pin power, which is up to 600 watts. So it's going to be crazy.
It's a different, so that's I don't have that 3090. That 3090 Ti is at my house. It's on my main computer right now. I'm using it actually to game with.
That's 3
pins, right? It's got the 3 8 pins off the single 12 pin connector there. But
yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Sweet, my dudes. Well, we'll start to wrap this one up. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. You have any last minutes of things? I mean, this obviously can't be the last time. Hopefully we can get some other, I'd love to have maybe sometime, even if it's too early for this summer, but we'll get a few more YouTubers all together and just have a fireside chat. I think that'd be a really cool thing too. We'll have a secondary, area set up to where there could be 4 mics hooked up and we can get a cool little session. I think that'd be cool.
I definitely appreciate you having me out. It's been fun. Catching up and seeing the facility and BBTs and honestly, what I've seen and what you did with it, how you were taking us through the process and everything. But, like-minded individuals getting together, having a great time. I love it. So definitely we'll catch up with you again in the future. And thank you for having me on the stream.
Absolutely. And Sean Hill coming in right at the end with a great content from Carter, like a boss, longtime follower and supporter of the channel. Sean's always bringing the heat. Love it, my dude. I do appreciate that. All right, my dudes. We'll see you guys on the next one, and we'll have some good content coming your way from your visit that I know that'll be on your channel. We'll put it down